Now that we are over a full month out of the final shape, I thought it'd be time to go and have a deep dive into the Prismatic subclasses and give a ranking for all three. Now, this isn't going to be a traditional ranking. I'm going to be going through all of the different abilities and ranking those individually across all the classes. But then I'm also going to give an overall class ranking, and you can probably guess what it's going to be, but I wanted to make this video because I think it's an interesting discussion point to have of how we could improve each of the subclasses and how we can see Prismatic evolve in future. So let's waste no more time and start ranking the classes. Okay, so here we have the list of 1, 2, and 3 of where we're going to be ranking these. We have all of them here. We have the Titan, the Hunter, and the Warlock. We're going to go through the rankings, and now we're going to be ranking based off each of their abilities first, off like which class has the best abilities, and then I want to rank how the classes are in terms of the overall performance, where they would actually sit. So let's jump first into the Titan, because I think the Titan is a little bit looked down upon. I don't think it has some of the worst things in the world, but I do think that it leaves a lot to be desired. The first thing we're going to look at with the Titan is the supers. In terms of the supers, I think that the Titan has 3 very good ones in terms of Twilight Arsenal, Thunder Crash. Blade Fury is by far and away the best one on the class. Glacial Quake can be used in different scenarios to do a good amount of damage, but overall as a super, I don't think it's that great. And Hammer of Soul is okay, but it's not the best, but it is going to be getting a buff. Twilight Arsenal giving that weaken effect means it's quite good. Thunder Crash is only really empowered if you're wearing the empowered chest, so you get that little bit of extra damage. And I think Blade Fury is just good on its own. So it's hard to kind of rank where I would put the Titan supers. I just think that the Titan needs that one element of the supers to really push it, which is why it unfortunately sits in the 3rd spot when it comes to its supers. Like Twilight Arsenal's getting a buff apparently, Hammer of Soul's going to get a buff, so maybe that'll push it up, but the other 2 classes just have stronger super selections. Melee abilities though, I think that the Titan is in good stead. Frenzied Blade is very good, Thunderclap is also very good, Shivering Strike isn't that great, Hammer Strike is fantastic, and I think Shield Throw is very underrated, but I don't think that any of these abilities would be as good without Knockout. They wouldn't be enhanced, I should say. They're still very good on their own, which is why I think that the Titan sits, where is it on here? The Titan for me sits in 2nd place, because even though it's the melee focus of the class, I don't think its melee options combined with the aspects, they do become stronger, but you can't deny one of the best combos in the entire game, which is on Hunter. And I know that's maybe a little bit unfair if we're kind of judging the overall effects of it, but I have to put them in 2nd, because although Thunderclap is good, you need to use an exotic to make it even better, or 2 exotics in this case. Frenzied Blade as well. I may move it up to 1st. It's very close. I'll say it's very, very close. It's a hard decision, but I think the Hunter just pushes ahead in terms of that, and I'll explain why in a little bit. Grenade-wise, once again, the Titan has some very strong options for the general play of the game. Suppressor, very good grenade to be able to deal with Overload champions, and also put it on Facet of Dominance. Gives you weaken as well. Fantastic. Thermite Grenade isn't a healing grenade, but it's quite good. It isn't a fusion grenade, but also it is quite good. Pulse Grenade is very good as well. Glacial Grenade isn't the greatest, but Shackle Grenade is, I think, one of the best grenades in the game for being able to control things, which is why I think it's very good to put it there. I just don't think it has the best, which is why, once again, the Titan sits in 2nd place, because there's one other class that just does it just a tad bit better. For the aspects, the Titan, I haven't used Unbreakable as much, so I can't comment too much on it, but you're using a lot of it to get Overshield when you can get Overshield by other means. So it kind of makes this a little bit more irrelevant. I don't know whether or not they'll buff this in the future, but there's one aspect down. Diamond Lance is good in general play, but I think it falls down just a tad bit in end game because you have to actually get the shattering, you have to get the lances to be able to do stuff with them. I think Drenger's Lash is fantastic. I think Knockout and Consecration are all fantastic aspects. The problem is they are melee focused. They're just melee focused. So it means that in order to get the best out of Consecration, IMO, you have to be running Frenzy Blade, so you get 3 of them. And to take it even further, to get more of that, you have to be using Knockout with it. They're kind of forced into one another. Now, you can use other options, obviously. But yeah, Drenger's Lash, I think, is the best of them. But I just don't think it lives up to that the standards of what Titans should expect. And I think it's down to the one of the aspects not doing the great. So it sits in 3rd place at the moment. So let's move on to the Warlock. For the Warlock, the supers. I think it has, once again, 3 supers that are on par with what the Titan has, apart from one of them. Storm Chance isn't the best. I think it's the worst out of all the classes, with the ones on Prismatic. This was Chaos Reach. We'd be having a different conversation, which would have been fantastic. Sadly, we don't. Winter's Wrath is more of a controlling super. It's not the best for damage, and you don't tend to gravitate towards it. There's other supers that do a better job. I think Cataclysm, since it's buffed, has been fantastic. It's a good burst DPS option that you can use alongside Needlestorm. Needlestorm, I think, is better on Strand because you can take advantage of more enhanced threadlings. And also, it's a little bit inconsistent in terms of how much damage it puts out because it goes on a wide spread, so you sometimes lose damage on it. But there's no denying that Song of Flame is quite possibly the best of the 3 new supers added. 90% damage reduction, or at least 80%, and 30% for your allies is nuts. The explosions and the regular damage that you can put out combined with different exotics makes this, in my opinion, one of the best supers across the entire game. It's definitely taken the place of Well. You don't get the healing now, but you do get more damage, which is fantastic. And you're able to put on more ability damage, and I just think it's fantastic, which is why it just beats out Titans and sits in 2nd because of the other options that obviously the Hunters have, which we'll talk about in a moment. For the melee abilities, I think that the Warlock has the worst. Lightning Surge does help make up for it, but Warlocks aren't generally a melee class. Arcane Needle's good, Snap is good, Chain Lightning's okay, Pocket Singularity's okay, and Penumbral Blast is good for control. They're just not that strong in terms of what the other classes can do, which is an easy pick for me, and I've used them on the class a lot. They sit in that 3rd place region at the moment. It's a little bit of a shame. But then on the on the opposite side of it, the grenades for the Warlock I think are the best. You have Vortex Grenade, very strong with Osiomancy pairing on the exotic gloves, but just general, it's very good. Healing Grenade, top tier with Seeker's whatever it's called, is also fantastic. Cold Snap Grenade, very, very good for controlling things as well, and also works well with Leak Watcher. Threadling Grenade is great. It's improved on Strand, but very good here. And Storm Grenade is also very good as well. These are the best selection, I would say, and the Warlock's always been known for having the best grenades. And if you were going to take it one step further, if we had an aspect that improved our grenades like we do on Solar, we'd be having a different story here. Kind of like what I would like to see on the Titan, maybe, to improve it and give it some more options. So that's why the Warlock moves comfortably into 1st place when it comes to its grenades. And also, I think that the aspects for the Warlock as well are also in 1st place. Helion is fantastic. getting that extra Scorch off. Feed the Void and having Devour Up is great as well. It's hard to discern. It's very close between Warlocks and Hunters. So I'll explain why when we talk about Hunters in a minute, of why I think that the Warlock just edges it out. Lightning Surge is also a lot of fun, but you need to use that Arcane Needle to get the triple effect of it, which is a little bit unfortunate. Bleak Watcher is fantastic. We've seen the endgame builds that I've done with this. It's just amazing. And likewise with Weaver's Call as well. Having those extra strand and also being able to use Phoenix Dive enhances this a lot, but obviously it's better on strand. But I think it just sits in that first spot for the aspects. It's very, very close though with Hunters. So let's find out why. Before we go through the other parts of the class, let's just go and talk about the aspects. So the reason why Warlocks just beat out the Hunters, Winter Shroud is fantastic. It slows targets. Starless Executioner, I think, is one of the best aspects in the game, like period, because with Prismatic now, because of all of the elemental debuffs that are going on, means pretty much permanent uptime on visibility and weaken from your grenade, your melee, which makes them better. Having that is great in endgame because it means you can just be super free when you're running around and get out of situations if you kill one of those enemies. Likewise, it pairs very well with Winter Shroud. There's like an awesome synergy there. I do, however, think that Ascension, whilst fun to use on Prismatic, it's better served being on Arc. So it kind of feels a little bit like Unbroken or Unbreakable on the Titan, which makes it fall down just a little bit. Gunpowder Gamble is a lot of fun, and Threaded Spectre also plays into Starless Executioner as well, because you're using your class ability to kind of leave a strand thing alive to be able to, like, basically more survivability. But I just don't think that it's more so they're focused on survivability than they are like uber controlling, which is what I think the Warlocks do. But that being said, there's other aspects of the Hunter class that are good. So it's why it sits in second. They're just a little bit better than the Titans. For everything else, though, once again, let's go through more of the weaker sides of the what's it called? The Hunters. I actually think the Hunters have the worst grenades, which is quite funny in this specific instance. Storm grenades doo-doo, in my opinion, in PvE. Arc Bolt Grenade is okay. Magnetic Grenade's okay. So you're kind of relegated to using Grapple Grenade and Dusk Field to get the most out of them with their debuffs and also just kind of intrinsic slow that you have on Dusk Field Grenade. But I think that the other classes they do it a little bit better, which is a little bit surprising, you would say. And it's like, well, what's this end ranking going to be? Because I think that the melee abilities here for the Hunter are the best options in the game. Threaded Spike, you could say, isn't as good, but I've seen some stuff with Threaded Spike with some exotic pairings that make this very, very good. You get Weaken on the Snare Bomb. Combination Blow is the most busted ability in the game if you combine it with Liar's Handshake and Starless Executioner. And like grappling and stuff like that, it's absolutely busted, which kind of bumps up the grenades just a tad. But Knife Trick is fantastic, Withering Blade is fantastic. So in terms of where it sits, I think it edges out the Titans because I think it has more that are usable. And Combination Blow is just nuts. It's so good, and it just beats everything else, sadly. And makes them very strong. For the Hunter Supers, they have 3 of the best supers, in my opinion, for PvE. They don't even have to leave their subclass to get their better supers, which is what the Titans and Warlocks do, which before we even discuss them, puts the supers for them in the top spot. They go into the top spot. And that's because, 1, Silk Strike isn't the best, but it's very good. Storm's Edge is a fun super to use, but it's not also the best. Golden Gun, one of the best damaging supers in the game, with Celestial Nighthawk. Means that we've seen the Still Hunt stuff. It's so good. Likewise, Silence and Squall. Using this with certain super and exotics makes it very good. It's just a great debuff across the board, which means it then flows into Silas Executioner a lot, which is just great. And then you've got Tether. They have all of the things that they need to be the Hunter, which makes them arguably that have the best supers in the game. Now, let's talk about the overall list here, because we have two Warlock ones, we have 2 Hunter ones, we have a Hunter one here, we also have a Hunter one here, so it's very, very close. Of course, it means that Titans are unfortunately in 3rd place when it comes to the rankings. I think a lot of Titan players will know that. But which is better, Warlocks or Hunters? It's Hunters. The reason being is Hunters, as I've said, have 3 supers that are some of the best supers in the game. They do not have to leave their subclass to get better options at all. Like, apart from Stick being one of them, Storm's Edge, isn't as good as Gathering Storm, so you could argue that there. But if we're being honest, Storm's Edge, where is it? Storm Trance, it's kind of on the same level as the Storm's Edge in my opinion. Winter's Shroud is arguably, it's okay, but I think that Silence and Squall beats it out. Cataclysm is great for some burst DPS, but Tether is just better. Silk Storm, I think Needle Storm is better than Silk Storm, but then you got Golden Gun, which is probably on par with Song of Flame. Song of Flame is just slightly bit better. But it's how the whole class flows together. Everything, I think the Hunters have probably the least amount of limitations, I would say, in terms of being aggressive in the end game. It's a very kind of subjective thing of how you want to play. But I think that all of these abilities, you can't go wrong. Combination Blow with Grapple Grenade is one of the best combinations in the game. Almost Permanent Invisibility is amazing. Threaded Spectre and Winter Shroud has incredible synergy as well. Gunpowder Gamble is bugged at the moment, apparently, with something that you like how it gets its stacks, but also is very, very good. I just think Hunters have a slight edge over Warlocks here. As a Warlock, long-time player, it's the melee abilities that really let it down. Like, the grenades are fantastic, but I just think that the grenades here, you can kind of Grapple Grenade kind of makes up for it. Duskfield Grenade makes up for it. The grenades don't, there's a lot of control going on with Warlocks, but you just see it, man. Hunters are dominating the game. It's mainly, I think the deal breaker for me is supers. It's the super abilities. And not having to compromise, you can use all of your exotics that you need to. Like, for example, you can use Celestial and not have to worry. Foe Tracer, not have to worry, because obviously it's intrinsic in there. You can use Gear Falcons and not have to swap class, because it just plays into it. You can use Orpheus Rig and not have to swap class. Balance of Power is also quite good as well. Then there's all the different combinations here. Now, I could go into a completely different conversation about the prismatic class items, which by far and away, Hunters have the best selection, in my opinion, for both PvP and PvE. There is some very potent ones. And Warlock, I think that's where Warlock falls down to me. My previous video, I talked about the prismatic options that you have on the class items, and Hunters are just by far and away so much better. And that's where Titans also fall down as well, because they're very limited in what they can use as well. But you may disagree with me, but my selection is Hunters, #1 class in the game at the moment. Warlocks come in second, and then Titans come in third. So let me know down in the comment section what you think the balance of power is, what you would like to see changed on some of the classes. Let me know. And as always, like the video if you've enjoyed this, subscribe, and this has been Jimbo, and I'll see you guys next.